All right, welcome everybody. I just wanted to give a quick heads up or tutorial. I missed on this week's session speaking to the instructions or the problem more in depth like I usually do for the assignment. So the purpose of this quick tutorial is just to give you a heads up on how, when you look at 4.2, you should go about executing on what needs to be done. I'm not going to grade based on the page requirement at all, but I do need to see that the short answer questions and the math has been completed. So what does that mean? If you can show me that your work is there and that you've completed all the math and you've answered all the short answer questions and it's only a page, I'll still give you full credit. Okay, so don't be as worried about this week's page requirement as much as just making sure that you go through all the exercises that it tells you to do. So 4.2 basically just asks you to, through the eyes of Molly, through her perspective, to look at two different stocks and to evaluate them based on their risk and their return. So we're going to find an average return for the one stock over a 10-year period of time versus the other. And then we're also going to find the average standard deviation, which is a measurement of risk associated with each one of those stocks. And anyway, so we're looking at the problem here, 4.2. Make sure that you pay attention to those paragraphs at the beginning, because that'll come in handy when we talk about expected return, which her expected return is just the average return, a holding period return over the 10 years. But the first thing I'm going to do for A is I need to determine the percentage expected return for each stock using the approach specified by Molly. So what I need to do is I need to take for 2004 for share X, and I need to calculate what the holding period return is. So I take just 2004 and just stock X, and I take just 2004 and just stock Y, but I go through one by one, and I calculate a holding period return for each one for all 10 years. How do I do that? The calculation for holding period return is on page 128 of the ebook, but in simple terms, all you do is you take the dividend income, okay, plus the capital gain change, okay, and you divide it by the beginning value. Okay, so let me give you an example. In 2004, you would take $1 of dividend plus the capital gains change, which if you go from 20 to 22 is positive $2, right? That's the change over that year, beginning to ending, $2 difference. And then you divide it by the beginning value, so $20. And that's going to give you your return for that period. In this case, okay, you might have already figured it out, but $3 over 20, if I put that into my calculator, okay, so let's say I go over to my calculator. You've probably already done it. I'm trying to go through all the steps. 3 divided by 20 equals 0.15, which in percentage form is what? It's 15%. Okay, so we've done step 1, which is calculating the HPR, the holding period return for 2004 for stock X. We have to do that same thing for stock Y for 2004, and then all the rest of these years as well. Okay. Then when we're done with that, what we're going to do is we're going to take all those percentages and we're going to add them all together. So add all the percentages together. That's the next step after we've got all the holding period returns. We're going to add them all together, and then we're going to divide by 10, which will give us our average return for the stock over that period. That average return is going to actually be the expected return, because according to the definition of her definition for an expected return, she's just going to use the average as an expected return. Okay? Now, so that's letter A. That'll find our expected return for X and our expected return for Y. Then on letter B, we're going to have to know those HPRs or holding period returns again, because the next step, next part of the math is we're going to have a column of returns, right, that we've calculated for all 10 years. And then we're going to have a column of our expected returns, okay, and I'll show you why this is important here in just a second. So column of expected return, these numbers are all going to be the same, right? because our expected return is the same for every year because we just took the average over the 10 years, and that's our expected return. So that's our average return for the period. We put it down as the expected return next to the return for each year, that holding period, or HPR. Okay? Then what do? Well, then we need to calculate the risk or standard deviation for each period so that we can add them all together, divide by 10, and find the average standard deviation. So how do we do that? We go to page 139, and I'm actually going to show you this page because I think it makes sense to look at it. Okay, so let's look at page 139. This is where you get your calculation method. Okay, so here it is. Here's an example. We've got a column, as I mentioned. We can put all the years if we want over here on the left, but we've got a column of the actual holding period returns that we just barely calculated in letter A. Then we've got our average returns. That was our average totaling all those percentages and dividing by 10. And you'll notice that it's the same every year, right? That's our expected return for this problem. These are not the answers, by the way. This is just an example on page 139. So you'll need to input your information, of course. How do we calculate standard deviation? Here's the actual equation right here. But the bottom line is we take the difference of these two. So we take negative 26.5 in this case minus 6.4. That equals 32.9, negative 32.9. And then we square, okay, that result. All right, so we square the difference between the two, and that gives us this number over here. Okay, and we've got to be able to get this column over here because we have to add them all up. Once we add them all up, okay, we divide by the number of periods minus 1, okay, and that's very important. So in this case, it'll be divided by 9, right, because we've got 10 years, just like this example. So we'll total all those numbers that were the difference squared, you know, over here on the right side column. Then after we take the square root, okay, of the total over the number of periods minus 1, which is what this is right here, that second step, then we're going to take the square root of that result. Okay, in this case it was 688.8. So on your calculators you can take the square root of a number and that will give us the percentage. That percentage is our standard deviation. So the answer to part B, but you're going to have to do it for stock X, and then you're going to go through that same equation to do it for stock Y. Now, this looks like a lot, but I promise you there's not much going on here. If you will just look at page 139 and read through what it means to have standard deviation calculations, and you'll read through page 128, which you should have been reading through anyway, you'll have all the equations that you need. It's very simple math. It's not hard math here. Everything can just be plugged right into a calculator, and if you set it all up like they do in these two examples on 128 and 139, you'll be in great shape for the homework this week. Because the last couple problems, okay, oh, that's not what I wanted. Let's go back to 4.2. For C and D, shouldn't require any math. It's just you analyzing the information. Okay, so for C, you're going to look at the numbers and you're going to evaluate the risk and return for stocks X and Y, and which one would you do. Then it asks, ignoring her existing portfolio, what recommendations would you give to Molly with regard to those stocks? Which one would you do? Not even thinking about her current portfolio, just which one would be your preference for her. Okay, that one, less of a right or wrong answer. The first three are pretty straightforward. If you either get them right or get them wrong. As I always do, I'll give you some feedback on how to resubmit the assignment if you're just off a little bit, and give you some advice on how to fix things. But that's the assignment for this week. I wanted to give you a quick tutorial on how to do it. But please, please, please look at pages 128 and page 139 before you go to a tutor, before you get stressed out. I hope you'll listen to this and you'll be in great shape. Just some simple math. There is quite a bit of math. I mean, you have to do quite a few small problems, but if you know how to do them or how to set them up, you should be in great shape. All right, good luck to all of you. If you have any other questions or concerns, let me know. But that's all I wanted to do with this quick tutorial. Thanks.